So one day I paid the rent, and the landlord was amazing. She's a great person. But I didn't tell her because I was already late 5-6 days. So I gave her all the money I had, and the payroll ended up delaying for one extra day.
Jeez.
So I'll never forget that day. I was without food for 14 hours.
I have an extremely incredible guest that I'd like to introduce to you today. His name is Mohamad Fakih, and Mohamad was a gemologist by training. He immigrated to Canada from Lebanon in 1999. He lived in a basement apartment at Jane and Wilson. And to pay rent, he taught the landlord's son French and hustled daily. Fast forward a few years, and Mohamad is sent out one day by his wife to get some baklava in Mississauga and ends up at a sketchy-looking restaurant in a chance encounter that would change his life and so many others. Lo and behold, in 2006, he actually ends up buying that restaurant. Today, Mohamad is the CEO of the fastest growing Middle Eastern restaurant chain in North America, expanding from that one risky purchase of Paramount Fine Foods. There are now 80 plus Paramount franchises worldwide, bringing in millions in revenue, with more plans for growth, and he has hired over 100 Syrian refugees throughout that process. But beyond the incredible success that Mohamad has achieved, what is his most standout quality is his generosity and humility. His extraordinary selflessness has led to multiple awards, deserved recognition, including Canada's Most Admired CEO and business person. Mohamad, it's an absolute honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, and this is one of the best introductions I've ever heard about my life.
Well, that's an honor in itself. So thank you so much. And, I want to get right into it. I want to learn a little bit more about you and about your journey. So I have heard through a bit of my research that you had, when you immigrated to the country, you had some interesting jobs. And at one point you were working an internship in the day, and was it coffee time at night?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. So could you tell me a little bit more just about what were some of your early positions? And I heard that you were also teaching the landlord French. Would love to hear a little bit more about that.
So I landed with $1,200 in my pocket, right, in Mississauga and Pearson Airport. A friend of mine that he's now working at Paramount, one of our executives, until now he's with me, picked me up from the Pearson and took me to a basement apartment. So I was sharing that basement apartment with 3 other guys.
Okay.
And then it got better. 1 left. So now I'm sharing it with 2 other guys. And then 1 left. And I was left alone after it, but I couldn't be able to afford the rent. So I proposed to the landlord to teach her son French.
Okay.
And she agreed. So because I had 0 cash flow. And basically, that's where I started looking for a job. And I'm a gemologist. I have a master's degree in geology, and then I did 2 years of gemology. And I'm actually certified gemologist to sign certification on diamond. So people won't give me a job, a good paying job, because they kept telling me that I didn't have Canadian experience.
Right.
I mean, I didn't understand that because diamond won't speak any language. Diamonds are diamonds, and I still could certify them. But despite that, I just was struggling, and people were saying no after no to me. And there was this jewelry store at the Eaton Center that I kept going there every week. Okay. And to the extreme that they actually got to know my name. And every time I walked in, they start telling me, no, there's no job, Mohamad, by name. So even before I say anything, Mohamad, you came here last week. We told you there is no job. So I was so persistent. And then I was struggling. So I had to go work for Coffee Time for 5 days. But for Tim Horton, but I didn't like it.
Okay.
And then I walked into this jewelry store and I said, why don't you hire me for free? And he looked at me and he said, it's either you're a thief or something wrong here. I said, yeah, there is something wrong. You're not hiring me. Like, if you want money in your cash register, hire me.
Right.
I'm the guy. Your staff are saying good morning and handing the customer a business card. Handing the customer a business card, you can't take it to the bank. If you want money in your bank account, you hire me. I will not hand business card. Don't print a business card for me because I want to make the sale and finish it. And he was impressed with that, not impressed enough to pay me, but he hired me for free. So I called it volunteering, so I feel better because I was brought up in a house where giving back, it's part of our life. Like my mom had a box called Sadaqah box.
Okay.
And she used to give us $5 before we go to school. And she used to force us to put a 20 cent in it for the poor, the needy, and the people in need, basically. And we did that every single day of my life, me and my brothers and sisters. So for me, giving back was important. So I called that job volunteering.
Wow.
And it was volunteering for my cause because I needed to really prove myself to that jewelry store owner. Then I called some people in the Lebanese community, and my friend that drove me to the basement apartment introduced me to someone that owned the coffee time at Danford.
Okay.
And they wouldn't give me even the day shift because apparently the day shift was for the executive. So I wasn't an executive. Like, it was for the people that are senior, right. They've been there for longer. So they gave me the worst shift, 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. And I had to take it. So I took that job, and that was my paying job. And I'll never forget, one day I had to pay rent, and because I was paying a shared rent, some of it cash, the other part is by teaching the landlord. So one day I paid the rent, and the landlord was amazing. She's a great person, but I didn't tell her because I was already late 5-6 days. So I gave her all the money I had, and the payroll ended up delaying for one extra day. Jeez. So I'll never forget that day. I was without food for 14 hours.
My God.
I was literally without food for 14 hours, and midnight was the time where the bank, the payroll, you'll see it in the bank, and I would be able to pull some money. And I'll never forget that pizza place beside the bank machine. I ran to him at 11:40, and I asked him to put a slice on the side, and he did. And he said, but we'll be closed at 12. And I said, look, 12:05, I'll pick it up, even if it's cold. And I went and I picked up a cold slice of pizza from him, because that was the first thing I put in my mouth after 18 hours. And since that day, I understood and I felt what it means to be hungry. And from my life in Lebanon, I understood how to leave your country. I've been a refugee myself several times during my life in Lebanon because of the war. And I've been an immigrant to Canada and started from nothing, started at the bottom. And a lot of people aren't ready to do that. I'm ready today to start at the bottom again, wow. Right? But so I've done it. I've done it all until one day I thought I proved myself in the jewelry store, but another jewelry store in the Eaton Center, the famous watch store, La Suisse at the time was. And they came and they saw my worth, and they gave me a paying job. So I moved to La Suisse 5-6 months in. I always told the owner of La Suisse I will not last more than 2 years. And he laughed. He said, everyone says that. I said, just listen to me. I will not last more than 2 years. And 6 months in, this lovely lady walked into La Suisse, and she's looking for a watch, very expensive watch. But she picked a watch that won't suit her. So I said to her, look, I really need the money. I really need the commission out of the watch, but I'm not going to let you buy something you will not enjoy. It seems like you're spending a lot of money, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is not good for you, right? Definitely, I wouldn't tell her wrist was too big, because you don't tell women that. Don't try it, please. Yeah. So it won't be a good thing. Yeah. So basically, I suggested her the right watch, and 3 weeks after, she showed up, and she offered me a job. And I said, no. Your company is too small. She owned 2 jewelry stores, but she didn't have watches. And I said, your company is too small. Unless you give me sweat equity, I want ownership in the business.
Okay.
And she called me crazy. I agreed. I said, yeah, I know I am crazy. I never said I wasn't, but I still want that. And that's the only way I'll move with you. So she came back. She said no. She left. She came back with her husband, took me for dinner, kind of interviewed me, and they agreed. They gave me a sweat equity in the business, and that was the first time I ever owned anything.
That's incredible. And that is still during a time when you needed the salary to pay for your basic living expenses. So
yes.
You still were essentially picky with the offer.
Oh, because the worst thing you can do in life is do something that you don't love doing.
Absolutely.
Right? And something that it doesn't make you feel like you're hustling for something more and bigger. Right? So even now, today, I always say aim high, even if you're going to miss it. Right? But just don't aim at anything just to make yourself feel better. Aim higher. Right? And it's okay to miss it. There's nothing... don't think anybody's sitting there watching you that you missed it or you didn't. It's only you. 90% of the problem comes from inside. Right? So don't be afraid of yourself. What you're going to tell to yourself. And don't be worried about pushing yourself to another limit, because that's the only way you're going to grow. And guess what? My child wakes up every second night 5 years old, and he's crying. And I wake up my wife and I say, oh, hey, Adam is crying. She'll say, give him Tylenol or Advil, children Advil. And I'll say, but why is he crying? She says, growing pain. And we all go through growing pain.
Yeah.
At school, we go through growing pain. At university, we go through. And in business, we go through. Emotionally, romantically, we go through growing pain.
Yeah.
So do not avoid your growing pain, because that's a sign of growing, right?
Absolutely.
So stretch your goal, think bigger, and yeah, even if you don't hit it. So yes, I took that job, and she agreed to give me sweat equity.
Okay.
And I started putting more hours, and I asked her to basically try to pay me hourly, and for the extra hours I put, but I still maintained the job at coffee time sometimes.
Oh, really?
Less days I had to.
Okay.
Right? Selling her the watch is the only time I was able actually to put a deposit on a car.
Right.
And one of my executives today is the person that indemnified me to be able to borrow money for a car.
No way.
Because I didn't have the money. So that person that's still an executive, great friend of mine today, his name is Mohamad as well. We're not all Mohamad at Paramount.
Okay.
We're the only two Mohamad. But, he indemnified me for the car. And he's still beside me. So surround yourself with people that they will feel that oneness with you.
Absolutely.
That they're ready to expose even their creditworthiness for you. And those people, never let them go. It's like, hang on to them. You will never find them again. And this is someone that I'm very proud of. That person is better than me and he has actually helped more people than I did, because and you need to learn that. When you help one person, you don't help that person. Yeah. You help everyone that person helped.
Yeah.
So that person, by helping me and me becoming who I am today, being able, and I'm not saying I am anything more important than anybody else, but with what I do and help other people, that person gets the benefit and the good deeds, because that person gave me that opportunity to be who I am, and I'll never forget that. And so going back to the story, I bought my first car from the commission of her watch that I sold, and that's the only time I stopped sleeping on TTC benches, because there was no time to get home and go to the second job, right? So I was one of those guys that you see taking a nap when he's sitting in a bus or on a subway, definitely not laying down, but because I had no time in my life to do it, and I really wanted to own part of it. So then we grew the company to 5 locations. A third location, she told me, never work anywhere anymore, because she found out, and she was the sweetest. Like, Canadian had helped me. A smile from a Canadian used to mean the world to me.
Yeah.
Just people smiling to me. I thought, oh my God, I'm accepted. Look, a Canadian person is smiling to me, right? And I'm still very appreciative. And that's why I want to help every Canadian. Doesn't matter, either you're a Canadian by birth or by choice.
Right.
I really want to help, because people had helped me, and that's what made me who I am today. So, so I stopped at third store after 5 locations. For some health reason, she said, let's sell the company, but she helped me buy 2 locations out of the 5.
Okay.
And I had to pay slowly for that. Fast forward, went to Switzerland to a watch show, because I was planning to add watches to our inventory and everything. And I saw this Swatch kiosk idea. So I said, I want it for Canada. And they said, Canada will not accept to put it in the shopping center. So I pushed for it, and I got it. So all the Swatch kiosks you see in the city, and I'm sure your viewer and listeners never probably thought about it, or people, maybe this is the second time I tell this story. I brought the Swatch kiosk idea to Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Swatch kiosk in the Eaton Center in Yorkdale Mall, this is my idea.
Oh, that's dope. Okay.
Right? And then after a while, they bought it back from me. And that's where the money came from to get to Paramount and everything.
Okay. Because I was going to get into that question, but one thing that really stuck with me that you just mentioned throughout that journey and immigrating to Canada is just the fact that you said, no matter what, you focused on persistence to getting to that goal, not just to paying the bills for the basic necessities of life, but you weren't bitter. You weren't angry at the fact that your credentials didn't translate over immediately. When you came here, you weren't sort of taken aback by that originally. You basically found every single sort of avenue you could find to try and succeed, and that kind of led to the opportunity with the watches. And I think that's super, super inspiring.
You said your viewers and listeners are young people.
Yeah.
Leaders decide results or excuses.
That's right.
And there is no other third choice. Everything we say that doesn't get result is our excuses.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we underline it, maybe we call it a different name. They are excuses. So for me to say the country should have been ready for my success and to make me successful, that's excuses. That's having something ready with a golden spoon in my mouth. No, I have to pay my dues. And that was part of it. So always ask yourself when you say something, is that excuses? And if it is, if it's an excuse, it's not going to get results.
Love that. Love that. Okay. I'm going to read this piece that I got from restobiz.ca in terms of an interview that was done with you. And this is an extremely important moment, I feel, in the history of Paramount. It starts like this. Mohamad just wanted a kilo of baklava. His wife had asked him to pick it up from Paramount, an out-of-the-way restaurant hidden behind a police station in a Mississauga industrial park. It wasn't easy to find, and Mohamad drove in circles past identical-looking buildings with no recognizable landmarks, until finally he stumbled across it. Already put off by the search, he walked in to find a wholly underwhelming space. It was run down, the washrooms looked awful, and besides, its ambitious name had nothing to do with its location. It was disjointed, but Mohamad's wife vouched for the baklava. As he waited for his order to be filled, Mohamad chatted with the owner, who recognized him from a recent magazine article about the house he was building. Mohamad admitted that, yes, that was him in the magazine. The owner's next question was a bit more pointed. Would you lend me money? Would you lend me $250,000? Despite the good baklava, Paramount was on the verge of bankruptcy, and the owner's request was a Hail Mary. Mohamad said, I'm only here for the baklava. I don't know you. But I handed him my card. It was one of those things that happened in your face, and you have to deal with it. I was hoping he would lose the card. Now, I found that funny, but also it seems like that was a catalyst in the story of Paramount that has also led to all of these different successes afterwards. What was it that sort of made you take the chance that you did on Paramount when you first entered that shop?
And thank you very much. Again, one more time, it's very well said. Yes and no. We say it's catalyst. We find the reason why people succeed. And this is excuses as well.
Okay.
So finding that woman that wanted the watch. I always say we all get presented with great opportunities. The baklava moment is one of them. Every single one of you, even yourself, me, the gentleman that's helping us is doing a great job here. We all get presented with opportunities. I always say you have to be ready. You have to really decide who you want to be in life. Are you going to be that person that prepared for opportunity, courageous enough to take them on, ready to acknowledge that that's an opportunity by itself is a problem, because a lot of people see opportunities, don't see that they are opportunities, right? A lot of people have opportunities really close to their nose. And some people has a great idea. They take them with them to the grave, right? So you need to really understand who you want to be. Are you going to be that person taking on those opportunities? Because the difference of that story, it could have been just, he's asking me, I saw your picture, I'll say yes. And he'll say, would you lend me money? I'll say, are you crazy? And right. It's over.
Yeah.
I won't hand him my card, and I'll tell my wife, never send me back there again, and we're done.
Yeah.
Right? So I felt maybe that, number one, what I felt really in the car is, was me. People had helped me. I want to help him, or I want to listen more. But when I listen more and I realize that this guy, regardless the fact that he's bankrupting, my wife is sending me there. So consumer is reading the quality that he's doing, but he's not being able to monetize it. I saw a way that I can mentor him. I was never thinking, never imagined that I'll own a restaurant. I don't know how to fry an egg.
Right.
And I'm a horrible eater. My wife always said it's boring to eat with me because I eat fast and I get up and I play with the kids.
Okay.
So I don't sit on the table and eat it slowly like every other human being does.
Right.
Right? So restaurants wasn't part of the plan. It's all about being prepared for opportunities in life. Being able to acknowledge and recognize opportunity. And people, again, don't say, oh, you're lucky. Really? No, success is not luck. It's not luck. Don't tell me it's like, oh, you were there, the right place, the right moment. No, these are your excuses. These are the excuses of the world that makes them feel better. No, you have to be prepared for opportunity. Then you have to be courageous to take them on knowing that you could fail. Like a gemologist going to buy a restaurant?
Right.
Like 90% I'm failing.
That's the question, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So yeah, the moment was first, I want to help him like other people help me.
Okay.
Because he said one sentence that if I don't help, him and his staff will be deported out of Canada.
Okay. High stakes.
So that hit home for me.
Yeah.
So I said, come. I called him. He didn't call me. I called him and I said, look, come see me. Right? And he came, saw me, and I heard the stories, and I decided to help.
And in terms of investing, was it from the equity from the watch businesses that you had before that you were able to actually now invest?
It was a mix because it was a bit from the house I was building, a bit from a loan I took, a bit from the watch left over, but it was a mix. I didn't have a clear money, free and clear, ready for me.
Okay.
Because even after the watch business, there was cost, there was things you need to pay back. There was like when you move with jobs and you move things, you have a gap of time that you spend money, but you don't make money. So I wasn't a rich man at the time.
Right.
But I took that chance because I thought I didn't even take the chance in the beginning. I wanted really to help. But then when the Revenue Canada froze his account because he's never paid his employee taxes and everything, and he didn't know that he had to. So basically, I went there and they thought I'm going to shut down the place. But when I saw all the team and the staff, I asked them, and some of them were crying that they're going to be deported. So I said, look, the only way we keep this open if we all come together and turn it to a restaurant more than baklava place, to more a restaurant, Middle Eastern food. And the idea was, I know everyone come together around a meal and people get to know each other over a meal. Quite honestly, I'm not a politician, but I think the world problem today could be resolved over a meal. If people can get to know each other, they realize doesn't matter what your skin color, behind that skin, we're all the same.
Yeah.
Right? And actually that beautiful diversity of colors, imagine if we all looked the same. Imagine if we all simply looked the same, acted the same, moved our hand the same time. Life would be boring. So everything else is we can break because when you break a bread with someone, you take off your jacket, you sit comfortable, you put all your agendas, and 80% of people start talking about their family when they're eating, when they're having a meal. Or it reminds them something with their father, with their mom, with their family member. So I think breaking bread together and bringing a real Middle Eastern food, a good experience of Middle Eastern food, not the moms and pop shawarma place with the guy not wearing a gloves and a cardboard where he's wrapping the sandwich. That's the experience we had at the time.
That's right.
Right? Today, I wouldn't take the credit for it, but I think we raised the bar. And
Absolutely.
For people to compete against Paramount, they had to decorate. They have to create some standards in the way they behave within the Middle Eastern restaurant. And quite honestly, with all minority restaurants, with all certain food restaurant, because they realize if they want to compete, that's the way they need to be at that level. So I told them, if we all come together, I'm happy to keep it. And all what I need you to do is to break even. So I didn't know anything about the food, but what I knew very well is customer service. So I used to jump around from table to table, clean table, high five with their children, talk to them, give them an appointment to come on Sunday to make them try something new that I didn't know what was the new yet, but I had to figure out the new first, right? And I used to make a new special meal for them because I promised them, and I asked the chef to do more. The chefs were very excited. They wanted this to succeed because their life and my life was on the same boat now. And that's the IKEA syndrome. You got your team to be part of the creation. The IKEA make you build your own table, even if you build it wrong and you put the screws wrong. But you love it because you build it yourself.
That's right.
And that's what you need to do with your team, right? With your people. And I always say, people. It's all about people in life.
So you really doubled down on your skill in customer service, even though you had no experience in food, you had no sort of ambitions when you were younger to own a restaurant. This was something where you saw the opportunity and you said, well, you know what, I want to help these people first, but at the same time, I want to provide value.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
And it's all about people. The customers are people and your team.
Yeah.
People don't realize. My dad always said, customer is always right. Customer comes first. I actually disagree. Your people come first. Your employees come first. Because when your employees feel that they come first, they look after the customer.
That's right.
And the customer is the boss, but don't come first. Your people. The secret to success is people. Because when you hire people smarter than you, you make them feel part of the creation, IKEA syndrome, right? You putting your table together, even when you're putting it wrong, that's the only time you yell at your son or daughter if she runs into it. Because now that's my art piece.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
I put the screws to it, right? And that's the IKEA syndrome. And that's what I did to the team at Paramount. I made them be part of the creation. I told them that without them, I wouldn't be able, and that was the truth. So they felt that responsibility. And that was in 2007. Today, we're over 80 locations. We operate in 7 countries, over 2,000 employees. Our name on the Paramount Fine Food Center used to be the Hershey Center.
That's
that was
right.
a dream of mine. But most importantly, what gets me up every morning, how many lives we can change and we can touch every day.
Incredible.
That's what gets me up every morning.
Incredible. No, that's super inspiring. And again, one thing that I would love for listeners to take from that, in addition to many of the incredible tidbits that were mentioned, is just that you don't have to have all the skills to build one business. You can double down on one of the skills that you already have and really develop it out and turn it into something that you can even hire for some of the weaknesses that you may have in order to expand. And you were able to expand Paramount past that first location to 80 plus franchises worldwide. How do you do that? How do you actually take it from that one success story and then build it out? Because now it becomes very, very serious. So how did you do that?
It's been serious all the time.
Okay. Okay.
Right? One location was one too many for me.
Right.
I was never in the restaurant business.
Right.
Right? So, I mean, multiplying it was another formula of something that, look, your motto in life should be you need to know what you don't know. If you start with that motto and you worry about not knowing what you don't know, that's the biggest problem. If you don't know what you don't know, that's a catastrophe on its own.
Yeah.
So the first thing you need to know in your business is you need to know what you don't know. And then you hire people and you empower them. Like your point about waiting until you're perfect and you're professional at something before you open a business, where does that exist?
That's right.
Like,
it doesn't.
And that's boring anyway. When you know it so much, don't do it.
Yeah.
Like if I know something that much, it'll become boring.
Yeah.
Right? I want to jump in somewhere that it's a challenge, that there's some discovering in it. And why would you need your team if you know it all and you actually believe you know it all? Right? So, no. I actually tell you, I'm Larissa Smart in my company.
Okay.
I have an executive team that's been in the restaurant business for years and years. What I am, maybe most importantly for me, my role is the culture. Culture with supplier, culture with customer, culture with franchisee, and culture with employees. I set the culture, I set the standard of how I want the level of food, the level of this and that. But now my team are better ambassador than me. And
Amazing.
Sometimes they remind me, that's not us, let's do this differently.
Amazing.
And you need to empower them. I'll tell you something, at Paramount, I'm only one vote. So we have 8 executives. When we make big decisions, we vote on those big decisions. And I'm only one vote. I'll never forget. I one day I thought, we have butcher shops and we have restaurants. We have dessert. Why don't I open Paramount Supermarket? What a great idea.
Right.
And I'm really warning you all. When you wake up in the morning and think I have a great idea, it's usually a horrible idea. So please don't do that. And a lot of people do that.
Okay.
Right? So I had a great idea, one of those bad ideas that I called a great idea.
Okay.
Right? And I thought a supermarket is great. So I went, spent $100,000 presentation, 3Ds, this, that, And I showed up to my board, which is, I'm the only owner. I'm the only one invested in money. But they own the company with me. They own it because their life is depending on the company. They own it because I want them to feel that they own it. And that's the bottom line. Who cares who paid the money? Right? But for the people that think business is money, well, I was the only person that had paid money. But I wasn't the only owner of the company.
Right.
Because those people, they were as invested as I am. So the first person on my right, after I did the presentation and I'm excited and all hyper, said no. So I'm done. I have one vote. I said yes. He said no. Then another lovely lady beside him said, no, Mohamad. Then no. And the last person said yes. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. Somebody's with me. He said, no, boss. I said yes because I felt bad. You're alone in it. So I want to come with you, but I actually think that's a horrible idea.
So it's a sympathy vote.
Yeah, it's just a sympathy vote for me, so I don't feel alone. And let me tell you something. If I would have gone to the supermarket business, I would have been bankrupted. They were right, I was wrong.
Okay.
Right? So empower your team.
Amazing.
Because a lot of people hire smart people not to listen to them.
Right.
To validate their opinion by surrounding themselves with the smart people, but yet not let them say what they have to say.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
Not tell me that my baby is ugly, my idea is horrible.
Yeah.
And you need to surround yourself with people that are ready to tell you, listen, your baby, this new idea is ugly.
Yeah.
And don't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't, you have a problem as well.
Amazing. No, those are some really key lessons and extremely priceless when it comes to leadership. Was there ever a time that you doubted yourself throughout this process? And if so, how did you overcome that doubt?
Well, I mean, in a way, doubting myself, I had no options. And I always say, if you want to be successful, you need to be hungry. I'm hungry today too. Like, let me tell you, I was so excited, and I'm still so excited to be here and to come here. But now that I'm here, right, I'm so excited to listen to it after. But at the same time, I'm excited to go raise the other $95,000 of Canada Strong. And I'm excited to do I'm still hungry.
Right.
And you need to live hungry in the time that you're building your life, your business. And most importantly, people don't talk. They talk about life and business and family. Build yourself. Decide who you want to be in life. Are you going to live on the margins, or are you going to be that stand-up person in life? You're going to show up. You're going to show up for your family, show up for your staff, show up for your community, show up for your country, show up for humanity. You need to decide, because those opportunities usually come as a surprise. So you need to be ready to decide who you want to be first. And then those opportunities, when they come, you don't have to think. You don't fall into paralysis by analysis, because you have decided what you want.
That's right.
A lot of people end up with nothing. FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Paralysis by analysis, think too much to wait for the better idea, better opportunity, and you end up with nothing. You know how many people say, I was thinking to do this. Yeah, sure. Too long. It's all about time. Let's get it done. Right? Move fast. But when people thinking too much, that means they were not prepared who they want to be. What kind of causes that they fit in and that are close to their heart. What kind of people they want to mentor. Right? And that's very important. So have I ever have doubt? Every day. Every day I say, I read a book about a very famous author. It said, every time I go to a TV interview, I feel like I'm going to screw up and it's going to be my worst interview and nobody will ever interview me after. And he used to walk in, do a great job, leave and say, oh, that's not this one, the one after. And some people keep themselves on their toes that way. Do I have self-doubt? No. Do I worry that? I actually don't worry, but I'm always feeling that I haven't proved myself. I'm not successful yet. I could do much more, right? I think I really want to be that person that when God decided to create Mohamad Fakih, what is the best image God wanted out of that person to be on earth? And I really want to be that person. Otherwise, I'm short for my existence. And I always say, doing good to others is the rent to pay for being on earth, like Muhammad Ali Clay said.
Yeah.
And it does resonate so much to me because I always think I want to be that person that paying their dues for deserving to be on earth.
So it's an intense self-awareness, and it seems like the only person you're competing with is the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And that will take you away from envy, from gossip, from looking at other people and say, oh, why are they like this? Oh, Mohammed, you're lucky. What do you do for a living to drive that car? Right? I'm like, I sell shawarma. That's what I do for a living.
That's right.
But I take it very seriously, like I sell building and towers.
That's right.
Right? Or like I sell gas and oil.
Yeah.
That's what I sell. I mean, and sometimes people ask me that on the gas station. Oh, what do you do with the wink? What do you do for a living for having that car? I'm like, I sell shawarma. Do you like chicken or beef first?
I would love to see their reactions when you say that.
And quite honestly, I love those younger people that they think. And then I get to chance to talk to them and they say, look, you could just sell water, bottles of water, and you could actually buy a car better than this. It's a heart, and it's being hungry.
That's right.
It's being hungry. Again, you have to be hungry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you. If somebody wanted to start a business today with very little capital, given the way that the economy is, given the way that people have loans to pay and debt to pay as well, What are some important lessons you learned that young entrepreneurs should keep in mind before starting a business?
Well, I mean, most importantly, you need to have a mentor. Mentors has changed my life.
Okay.
So find mentors for sure, right? Oh, I want to do it on my own. I'm not sure. No, find mentors.
So you had mentors?
I've always had mentors.
Okay.
My mentor now is Hazel McCallion, the former mayor of Mississauga.
Yeah, that's a good mentor.
Right? I mean, I have few mentors. My mentors has changed over the years, and definitely different mentor for different stage of your life, but always have a mentor. They bridge the gap. They don't want anything from you, and they get a lot of gratitude by seeing you succeed. And that's great. People who's been before you, done things differently, and maybe have mentors not to listen to them, right? That they teach you what to avoid, right? Some of my mentors were very negative about a lot of things I've done. And I don't want to talk about causes that we've done, but there is one cause or two where actually the gentleman that drives with me in my car turned around and said, "Boss, please don't do it. You're putting yourself out there too much, and it's very risky, and people might misunderstand it." I looked at him and I said, I can never forget who I am and where I came from. I'm a poor guy. And I came and I lived in a basement, and I'm going in the street to help the needy. It doesn't matter what happens after. We'll deal with it after, right? And don't tell me not to do it, because you and I need a job. And one day we could become poor, and some rich guy in a rich car will be told not to help us.
Absolutely.
I'm going and help, and you better be with me. And he said, no, I'm with you. I'm just worried. I said, you're not worried about me. You're worried about how we look. And leaders don't worry about how we look. Leaders don't worry about what politicians think. Leaders don't worry about, like, publicity. Like Martin Luther King said, leaders worry about justice and humanity.
That's right.
That's it.
And fighting for the way the world should be as opposed to the way it is.
Absolutely.
And responding to the way it is.
Absolutely. And make a difference.
Yeah.
Set an example, right? My fight against hate. Set an example. I took a punch in the face. Me, my family, my children.
Yeah.
But I really wanted badly to set an example. I want to set an example. It doesn't matter your color. It doesn't matter when you came to Canada. The hate will never win in this country. Because I do believe in Canada. I love this country. I love its people. And I will not let those minority 2%, 1% of the country change the way the perception is on Canada. And yeah, I got a punch in my face in the beginning. But we all stood back up together.
That's right.
Right? So one of us took a punch, but we stood up all together. And now there is children in the school. And let me tell you something to your listeners. Over 5 cases now has leaned on my judgment to get a judgment against hate.
Okay.
Well, which is great. That's why I did it.
And just for the listeners' benefit, what Mohamad is referring to is an incident, was it in 2016?
Yes.
2016, where there was a radio DJ who, if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, he came to Paramount. Justin Trudeau was at Paramount as a client. And basically... he started attacking Justin Trudeau in the beginning, and we sent them baklava and water. They were protesters with him. We thought everyone in Canada is allowed to protest. But then after the event, my son walked to the house and said, "Dad, did you see this? My face was full of blood in a picture, my hands full of blood, and calling me terrorist, calling me Islamist, calling me names." And I sent him a letter to apologize. He said no. And instead of that, he doubled down and put 5-6 videos out about how all my money and the people that comes to Paramount are about something nefarious, and how you have to have raped your wife or somebody else's wife if you time to eat at Paramount Fine Food, because that's what I believe in. Didn't know the man. He never met me before. Out of nowhere, just because I'm Muslim, right? Which is, I'm very proud to be Muslim Canadian. But very proud to be Canadian. But very proud to be Muslim Canadian. The person you are today is a combination of where you came from, where your parents came from, and what you learned in Canada, and the amount of learning from hustling and difficulties you've had through your life. right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, let's forget about everything and say, oh, I'm not proud anymore to be Lebanese Canadian. Oh, I'm proud to be Lebanese Canadian. The older people in Lebanon had taught me a lot. And the older people in Italy had taught me a lot. And the older people of Canada had taught me a lot. And the younger people too, everywhere I went. So I will always be very proud to be a Muslim Canadian, right? And my history of going to Italy as well had taught me a lot, and I'll never deny it. So never, ever change or not be proud where you came from, either financially or background, right? Because that's what makes us special, unique. That's our mosaic in this country. So he attacked me, and then I did some search on him. And apparently that's what he did for a living. 30, 40 people's life. He has changed, attacked people. No one sued him. So I said, that's it. I'm taking him on. So I took him on for 2 years. One day he met me at the mall. He chased me with my children, stuck a phone 5 inches away from my 5 years old child face. Start telling me to tell my son how I killed children for a living, which is, I don't know what he's talking about. This is when I told him, look, today you crossed the line and I will not leave you until we're done. So I did. I continued, and it's all legally. And we won the biggest lawsuit in the history of Canada against hate speech, and it was $2.5 million.
And this gentleman, I'm not even going to dignify him by saying his name, but essentially he was throwing hateful rhetoric Mohamad's way, and that case where he was ordered by the courts to pay $2.5 million is a real example of not just the Canadian justice system, but our morals and values as a society, that at the end of the day, we do not stand for things like this. And that's why your entire story and life story and having faced all of that too, it just comes together so well in basically promoting the best of what this country is and what we could be as we move forward. That leads me to my next question, because there are 3 incidents that really made me interested in having you on the show and bringing you to my attention. And I think that this is where you go beyond being, what you call yourself as a shawarma salesman, and the CEO of Paramount. When you go to a fast food restaurant or a quick service restaurant, oftentimes the last thing you're thinking of is how equitable or how corporately responsible and socially responsible the company is or the CEO is. But there were 3 incidents in Canadian history that really made Mohamad, I feel, stand out for the most part. One was a Quebec mosque shooting in 2017, where a gunman had entered a mosque and opened fire on innocent parishioners and people who were praying during that time. The next was Sufis, where there was the restaurant downtown. It is a Syrian restaurant where they received many threats, death threats, and fear and intimidation tactics that all of a sudden forced them to close their business. And then we'll talk about Canada Strong in just a minute. But in the Quebec mosque shooting example, Mohamad actually offered and did pay for some of the burial costs for some of the victims of that shooting. We live in an era of self-gratification, profit-hungry business, individualism. What compelled you to act so selflessly when so many other CEOs would have simply looked the other way?
And a lot of people do, and it's the easier way. But how can you justify being called a leader between even your staff within your community? When I'm talking community, not Lebanese community, not Muslim community, your neighbors surrounding. How are you a leader? How are you different? I walked into my house and I found my son scared. He said, look, we're Muslim. What about if somebody walk in and start shooting in the mosque or in the school just because we're Muslim? And my wife had texted me on the way home, and she said, get ready. Your son is asking a lot of questions about what happened in Quebec City Mosque. And then I got home. I said, hey, Imad, can you find a way that we can help these people? And IKEA syndrome again. Instead of being part of the problem, make my son part of the solution. And now he forgot about that possibly will happen to us. And now he's thinking that could be resolved. And we could find a better or positive outcome out of a negative story. So I went, jumped in the shower, changed, turned on the TV, saw a couple of the pictures that they were very, very ugly pictures. about the incident and everything, came downstairs and said, Dad, what if we pay for the funerals? And my other...
So it's his idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my son says, and what if we fix the mosque? So I said to Hanan, I said, why don't we raise money for both? We'll do the funerals, we'll fix the mosque, and we'll ask other people to donate. So I texted a couple of foundations that I know, and I said, I'm planning to do this. Who would like to lead it with me? And a lot of people called me and said, what are you doing? We don't know what's going to happen in Canada. Maybe some of these Muslims are, the wrong type of Muslims. And and Muslims calling me, telling me that, right?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe what if there is something wrong with that mosque? You don't know anything. You're exposing yourself. You're a leader in the community. I'm like, are you for real? How much are you donating? Like nothing. I said, no, you got to donate someday. One, you're going to donate for the incident. Two, because you're donating now for something to make up for the negativity you're spreading, right? And I got people to donate and start getting people to donate. Everybody called me and said, what are you doing? Do it. Don't tell the world you're doing it. But Canada needed something to bring us together. Canada needed someone to say, no. Them dying is like any other Canadian dying.
That's right.
And Canadians should come together with them. And the second check came from the Jewish community, one of the families from a Jewish background.
Beautiful.
And that was amazing. It made me cry.
Yeah.
Because it brought Canada together again. And that's what I was focused on mostly. Right?
Amazing. Yeah.
And
you were never a member of that mosque?
No, I never knew about the mosque. No relation to the mosque. I'm not Iranian. I never met any of the victims. They're not any of our co-workers for the Iranian community for the flight PS5752. No, but we are all Canadians.
Absolutely. And same thing with Sufis as well. When they received so many death threats and they were forced to shut their doors, you decided to come on board and actually help them out, help them stay open.
I'm a business owner. If we let these people get away with this, tomorrow is going to be every second business happening. Look what just happened with the Chinese-Canadian community.
That's right.
People are putting posts about them. Like it's somebody's restaurant's name Wuhan Noodle. That means he's from Wuhan. Yeah, of course he is. Does that mean he brought from Wuhan the coronavirus to his restaurant? The guy hasn't visited Wuhan for 10 years. I went visited him, gave him a hug, ate at his place, gave a hug to his staff. Because they need to feel Canada's embrace. Us not standing up for each other could be more dangerous than the coronavirus.
That's right. And leading to that, an extremely tragic incident happening in another part of the world. Many of you will recall in early January, many Canadians were on a Ukrainian flight 752, and as a result of the escalating tensions, the Iranian government, unfortunately, and they said by mistake, shot down that plane, killing 50 plus Canadians on board. Mohamad has been on a mission to raise money for the families affected by this. And in case this episode launches after the 21st, what can people do to help?
Well, what can people do to help after the 21st? We're going to try to do some places for their memory where people can visit, where people remembrance places. So that's for after the 21st of February.
Given everything you know and how successful you've become, if given the chance to go back in time, would you change anything about your story?
Absolutely not. I love it.
Amazing.
As crazy as it is, I love it.
Yeah.
I would want it repeated because I didn't enjoy certain moment. I would enjoy them more. But I like the struggle. I had a speech at Mississauga Board of Trade, a breakfast speech, and I had in the room the lovely lady that rented me the basement. And I had in the room the person that partnered with me to build the house.
Oh, no
And
way.
I had in the room the person that gave me the job with the equity in the business. So I had in the room as well the person that picked me up from the airport and lended me the money to buy my first car. So I had all these people in the room to show the world that it's all about the people. When you're surrounded, when you meet good people, when people find in you that good person, they want to help you. And when they help you, you'll do more and you'll help others and we all win. And that's the bottom line. I wouldn't change a moment of my life. Even Canada Strong. I've cried over the last 5 weeks more. I've cried the last 5 years, honestly. But it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It made me feel that I'm still that person that I'm ready to even go fundraise and be the clown on stage. for people to just give a $25,000 if that will change a child's life. And I was ready to do that.
That's incredible. You're incredibly inspiring. And on that note, I want to thank you so much for coming up, Mohamad. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
No, thank you very much. And to all your audience, I'm going to say, remember, there is no success worth celebrating unless you celebrate with your community.
Absolutely.
And there is no knowledge worth owning unless you share with others. Thank you.
Thank you.